What is a typical day for a medical coder? Well, I guess that depends on the medical coder, but I can show you as a medical coder what my day looks like. I'm Victoria. I'm a medical coder, auditor, educator, and content creator. And on my channel, I provide tips, tricks, and tutorials to help you be successful in a medical coding career. If you haven't already, highly encourage you to subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get alerts when I post new episodes. Now, if you've been with this channel for a while, you may be thinking to yourself, Victoria, haven't you already done a day in the life of a medical coder? Well, my day as a medical coder has changed quite a few times since the previous videos that I've made as a medical coder, and I thought it would be good to do an updated look into how I work through my days. Today's video is sponsored by iCoder. With iCoder, you can have a lot of your medical coding resources right at the tip of your fingers. I use the iCoder app because it's super effortless. I don't have to drag out my book. I don't have to go to my computer. I can just open up my app and look for laparoscopic cholecystectomy. I don't even have to type the whole word. I can just type in chole and it will start giving me some code options so I can narrow down to the exact code I'm looking for. And it will do things like give me the rates, give me the RVUs, the global periods. So easy to use. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of what you're doing and just makes it so smooth, and it's just so convenient to have access to everything right on your phone, because I always have my phone with me. I don't always necessarily have my code books with me. And you don't have to be a medical coding pro like me. If you are an absolute beginner, you can use the iCoder app effortlessly as well. Stay compliant, stay efficient, sign up today at icoder.info. I will link it in the description below as well. Now, my day in the life of a medical coder is different because I don't work for an employer anymore. I work for myself, and I also don't work from home anymore. I work outside of the home. I lease an office space. So while in my previous video I kind of rolled out of bed and went right into work in my pajamas with my blankets, I right now get up, I shower, pack a lunch, I commute maybe 12 minutes to the office, and then I start my day. Now, 2 days out of the week, I go to a personal trainer, so I actually get up, I might do a couple of emails at my home office, then go to the gym, and then I go home, shower, and then get ready and go to the office. So I probably don't roll into the office until around 11 o'clock or so, like right before lunch. Depending on my week or how ahead I am, I might only work 30 hours a week. So sometimes I'm between like 30, 40 hours a week. Again, because I don't want to work too late because I have to go home and cook dinner for my family. Honestly, I'm probably working more so part-time hours right now. And a lot of what I do is making educational content for YouTube, for webinars, public speaking, but then I also do small projects. I do some consulting, I do some auditing, I support with some 1099 projects. I like to refer to them as kind of micro projects. If it's something that takes less than a week to do, I'm happy to take it on. But if someone wants like a 3 or 6 month contract, I can't fit that in with all of my YouTube social media schedule. But right now I am working on a very small audit for a practice that has 3 plastic surgeons. Plastic surgery is my specialty, so I'm happy to do any kind of plastic surgery, general surgery. I know a lot about E&M, family medicine, primary care stuff as well. So those I will take on, or if someone's like, hey, can you help us out for a few days with a backlog, that I can do as well. So again, kind of think micro projects. They have to take a small amount of time. So the audits that I do, because I do them so infrequently, I'm not using auditing software yet. I was trying to install some, but there were servers and all kinds of things. So I haven't gotten that far yet. Right now, I work primarily on an Excel spreadsheet. I've seen some very polished, well-known auditors that actually do the same thing. They work off of Excel spreadsheets, but there are also software that you can use. Let's get over to the computer. Come on, let's go. So you might notice that my desk space is not super big. I have been working a lot more on using ebooks versus using the paper books. I do have my paper books. They are right there on the shelf behind me in case I would need to use them for any reason, but I am really trying to move towards being kind of mobile and using the paper books. So with what I do, most of the auditing work I do, I like to have access to the medical record platform itself, so we're not shooting medical records back and forth. I do use a VPN. I keep things very secure, and I am logging on directly into their software to do the medical audits. I also make sure that when I'm doing an audit, you know, we have to discuss the details of an audit. Is it a target audit, like you are concerned about your 99215s and that's all I'm looking for? Or is it going to be just a random sample, which is what this is? We're just looking at 20 records per physician. So I get a report from the practice of about 6 months worth of medical records, and I pick out 20 cases using rat stats, and then they also give alternatives. If you're not sure what rat stats is, it basically is kind of a random number selector, but it's very commonly used in the industry to select audit cases. It doesn't like read through the records and pick through them for you. It's basically you kind of program it to be like, okay, I've got records numbers 1 through 1000, pick 20 random numbers, and it'll say, 275, and then you go to row 275 on your report, and that is the case that you will audit. Now, if it was something that maybe was like canceled out, that it was a wrong code or something like that, or it was accidentally charged to the wrong patient's record and they deleted it all out, you could go to then an alternative case. So you always like to select alternative numbers so that in case some of them aren't able to be used, you can go to the next option. So I have my medical records that I can view, and I have my Excel spreadsheets. So I'm just going to kind of go through and do some auditing of these, verify what was billed. So I like to ask for a copy of or have access to the 1500 forms that were billed out, and of course the records themselves. It's easier to have access to the system because then you can see all of the orders and the audit trails and things, which you can't always see with paper records. So sometimes you have to make assumptions. When you're doing medical coding audits, you also have to do things like reports and findings and recommendations. So a lot of people think that they are doing auditing work when they're really doing things like quality assurance or quality checks, which is super valuable too, but not the same as doing a complete formal audit. Now, I also, because of what I do, have to do a lot of emails. I have currently 54 unread emails that I have to go through. Some of it, a lot of it is junk. And then some of it is things like right now I'm coordinating some video podcast interviews with people that I know in the industry. So I have to get everything coordinated with that as well. Now, I can't show you, of course, what's on my spreadsheet, but I will happily link below the spreadsheet that I use. It just kind of is a general spreadsheet with all the different columns of the things that I'm looking at. And you can adapt it for your purposes if you are looking for something easy to use for audits as well. I used to use IntelliCode. I'm hoping to get that up and running again. But again, I don't do a ton of audit work. It's these little micro projects but in between all of the social media stuff. So it's an investment to get software. I like the IntelliCode software because I've used it before. I know some other people use, like I said, Audit MD or something. But there's different software out there that you can use. But if you want to keep it easy, budget friendly, you can definitely use Excel, and you can definitely make report findings and just type them out in Word. And of course you have to be clear with HIPAA compliance that you're not storing things locally on your computers and so forth, because so many programs anymore just want to take their existing program and just slap the word HIPAA compliant on it like it's just a bumper sticker, and that's not always the case. Since I'm working on plastics, I do actually have one that is an adjacent tissue transfer, and I want to use my iCoder app so that I can make sure that I am getting this right. It is so easy to do the iCoder app and figure out the size of these lesions for these adjacent tissue transfers that I don't even bother trying to get out my calculator and do them myself anymore, because I can just easily get this done with iCoder. Okay, so it came up with 14301 for the CPT code, which is what they coded. So this case was actually done correctly. Now it is getting late and I do need to take lunch. I pack my lunch. Occasionally I will go out to eat for lunch, but usually I have some sort of salad. Today I packed a lot of snacks because yesterday I only packed 2 and then I didn't eat breakfast, and I like blew through my snacks and was ready to like leave early because I was so hungry. Today I have to watch my time because I have to take my daughter out to visit some of her friends. They are going to do some sort of slide thing tonight, so I'm gonna grab my lunch and then finish up this audit. Now, depending on my day, I don't always eat at my desk. Sometimes I eat at the tables that are over on the other side of my office. And I actually have the couch, of course, is in front of a TV. So sometimes I might kind of park my butt there to relax for a little while. But today I got a lot of stuff to do. Again, my days look so different now than they did a year ago. 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Typically when I was working from home and for the hospital, I would also eat lunch at my desk, but I'd probably be watching YouTube videos or something while I was doing it. It really depended on how my day was going. When I was salaried, I oftentimes would kind of work through my lunch. Now, as far as staying on track, I have a couple of things that I do to make sure that I get everything accomplished that I need to, because some days I am just not all there. I keep a daily to-do list where I write down a lot of things I need to do in a day. But what I've really been doing lately that's been helping me out is making myself a weekly checklist as well. So instead of saying, oh, here's my top priorities, I just list out all of the things that I need to do for the week and put little check boxes next to them. For forever, I've been saying I want to learn ICD-10 PCS. So one of the goals I have down here is to study PCS coding, and then I broke it down into little chunks of 15-minute increments, and I want to do a total of 90 minutes. So far, I have done none of that, but it kind of gives me some more flexibility instead of me panicking and going, oh my God, this is the thing and I have to do the thing because I said I was going to do this thing this week. I can kind of pick and choose as I'm going through my week and going, oh, okay, well now I have this coming up, so maybe this is going to be more of a priority than this other thing is. I still have that satisfaction of checking things off of my list, but it's not super structured. There's a lot of things I think about doing, like I have the conference room space, so sometimes I'm like, oh, I should have workshops here. But with everything else I have going on, I don't know when I could accomplish that. But again, if you're out there and you need someone to educate providers in the Kutztown, Pennsylvania area, I have space. Now, in more traditional medical coding settings, you do have times that you're supposed to be clocked in. Sometimes they will allow you a flex schedule. They can say you can start between 7 and 9. Others, they're more stringent. They're like, if 8 o'clock is your start time, you got to start at 8 o'clock and you got to work until, 4:30 in the afternoon, and you get a half-hour lunch. Traditional medical coding jobs are productivity based, they are accuracy based, so they will monitor to some degree that make sure that you are at your computer and that you are hitting a certain amount of charts per hour. That varies so much depending on where you're working, what kind of systems you're working with, what kind of medical coding you're doing. So I can't even give you a ballpark of oh, it's going to be X amount of charts an hour or CPT codes an hour or ICD-10 codes an hour. It varies so much. My days, I try to keep super flexible. I get anxiety if I have too many things on my calendar, which is why I have dialed back a lot on a lot of projects and things that I was doing that were set hours every day. But I've gotten so far ahead of other projects now that I have more capability to take on some smaller auditing roles, or like I said, backlogs and things like that that people need some assistance with. That is all primarily done 1099 work, so I don't work as an employee for anywhere. I did for a short period of time work for one of the local colleges, helping out with their CPC programs that they had, but I don't do that anymore. One of the cool things too that I think things like ChatGPT have helped with is now when I take on projects and I need a little contract or something, I can have it formulate something for me and kind of review it and look over it, versus previously I would have to go to a lawyer and get things done. Now, of course, if someone is sending a contract to me, I will still have my lawyer eyeball it. But yeah, if you're thinking about getting into independent medical coding work or medical auditing work, I would definitely recommend getting a few years under your belt before doing that. So once I've got all of the charts audited and all of the data together, I'm going to kind of look at it, develop an accuracy rate for each provider, and then put together individual provider summaries, areas where they need to improve, maybe some revenue cycle opportunities, places where maybe they aren't documenting as much as they should be in order to get the codes that are going to pay higher, and then just provide a general summary as well. That's all going to go to the practice manager. She's going to look at that, and then I'm going to set up some education for the providers, which we will do via Zoom. Now, most of it will be screen share. I also do have a document camera that I use for if I need to do education where I'm sharing an E&M score sheet or want to show something specifically in my books. And then of course I have a really good webcam over here. I don't want to turn over, but it's the Elgato Facecam Pro, but honestly, the webcam's not the important thing. The education part is. Although I do think it is important to have a decent camera and decent microphone if you're going to be doing remote provider education. And of course, we have to worry about the security of patient information, so there are Zoom accounts you can purchase that are HIPAA compliant. I think some of the things that people struggle with when they're going from doing just coding to auditing is when you're formulating those audit results, communicating exactly why something wasn't coded a certain way or why it did meet that coding criteria, and then formulating those reports. So the whole process, not necessarily of auditing, but compiling all of that data and thinking about what you're going to say about it is difficult. And then of course, doing the follow-up education is where people have difficulties as well, communicating to providers, hey, if it would have said this in the documentation, you would have met the level of service that you selected, but that's absent from the documentation. I don't know if maybe you did it and it didn't get into the documentation, or maybe it was really the level that I think it should be. It is a science and an art. But in any case, I hope that helped give you kind of a taste of what my day is like as a medical coder. Again, a lot of medical coding jobs have very different days to them. I want to thank iCoder for sponsoring this video. And if you are interested in learning more about the RATstat software, you can watch the video that I have on that right over here. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video. And until then, just keep on coding on.